Hey guys, I'm Elisa Strauss and we're mixing it up in the kitchen today with Peanut Butter and Company and Home. Today I'm working with my good friends at Peanut Butter and Company to celebrate the launch of a new movie called Home, which will be in theaters March 27th. To celebrate this fun new movie, I'm making a giant sculpted cake in the shape of O, using vanilla cake and delicious chocolate peanut butter ganache. Home is about a bunch of cute little aliens called the Boov, who are looking for a new place to live. They come to Earth and take over the whole planet. But one little girl named Tip escapes and winds up on this crazy road trip with a renegade Boov called O. And that's why I'm making Bashful O today. I'm so excited to show you how to make my Bashful O cake. I'm going to start with just the basics. How do you build this cake with this delicious chocolate ganache? So I cut out a 4-inch round, it's kind of like a half-inch styrofoam because this is such a big cake. I wanted a lot of support. Then I made my ganache ahead of time. It was so super easy. It only has 3 ingredients plus salt, with the recipes down below. And the dark chocolate dreams makes it so easy because it's one of the main ingredients and you get that delicious peanut buttery taste. So I put my first layer down, and I like to use a pastry bag just because it keeps the ganache really nice and the same size throughout. That way your cakes are nice and level. Take the second layer, put it right on, and I'm going to go ahead and build the entire cake this way. I'm going to use a separator board after the 4th layer, and I'll use some dowels, and then he'll be ready to go. I use 2 6-inch rounds, 2 7-inch cake layers, and 3 8-inch round cakes. But don't worry, you don't have to remember all of this. It'll all be down below in the recipe section. So whenever I make sculpted cakes, the most important thing is to actually make a template, because how would I have any idea how big the cake should be? So what I did is I blew up O, and he's 11 inches. And so I built the cake to 11 inches. And this way it takes out all the guesswork, okay? So if I wanna know how big the eyeball is, and later when we do all the decorations, if I wanna know how big his vest should be, this template's going to give me all that information. So that's super important. So now we can start carving. So I have all my cake, the delicious ganache inside, and I just like to use a serrated knife. And I just start by sculpting the head, sculpting the bottom. I know that O is really narrow at the bottom, so it's kind of like a topsy-turvy kind of cake. So I'll actually start with the bottom. And don't be sad if you're wondering what's going to happen to all this extra cake. Someone will eat it. Do you know how I got involved with Peanut Butter and Company? The founder, Lee Zalbin, actually went to college with me. Now that I have the base forming some sort of shape of O, I'm going to start on the head. So this is the part that I really have to be careful to leave enough in the front for the mouth, but I can start taking off the top to get the shape of O. So then there's this little ridge at the top of O, so I'm going to start by just taking a little, kind of like a cavity off. And it's kind of like his brows are furrowed because right now he's Bashful O. One of the hardest parts about sculpting is that you have to make it so much smaller because you have to account for the layer of ganache and then the layer of fondant that's going to be put on top. So this is a good time. I printed out another template and I cut out the eyes, and I can go right onto the cake, right at the top of the head. And this is a good way of determining if I'm on the right track, whether I have the little protruding area for the mouth and where I'm going to put the eyes. All right, so I think I have O's basic shape. You see the nice taper, and make sure that you have the cake nice and flush with your board down here. That'll be really important. And you can see the ridge I created between the head and where the vest will be. And so that's really important. And the next step, we'll frost it with ganache, and then we'll start covering it with rolled fondant. Now that I have the shape of O ready to go, I'm going to use some of my delicious ganache and get it right on to seal all of the crumbs and as my coat of frosting. One of the best things about using ganache is that it's so easy to make. It really just uses a few ingredients and it's so easy to spread all over the cake. And it smells delicious, this peanut butter and chocolate. My kids will love this. All right, so I'm going to finish frosting this guy and I'll see you back here with some rolled fondant. O is ready to be covered in rolled fondant. So here I mixed a beautiful color of pale purple, almost like a lilac color, because Bashful O actually has even a pink hue to him. So I'm going to cover the base here, and then I'm going to cover the head, and then we'll get into the vest. Here I rolled out a strip that's just 3 inches tall and about 14 inches wide. I use a tape measure, and that just makes it really easy when working on odd shaped things. So I'm going to just wrap this strip around him, and then what we can do is build his legs on top. All right, so I measured the head and I have my fondant rolled out to about 15 inches by 15 inches. And now's when you'll see all your hard work of sculpting really come to life. O is a bit of an outcast and doesn't have many friends, but he develops this friendship with Tip over the course of their adventure. I'll make some indentations in the eyes, make an indentation in the mouth, and just give it a little bit more character before we go on to the next detail. Now I'm going to use some of the extra fondant and roll out the little ears. It's fun because they're all coiled up. The nice thing about the fondant I'm using is that I'll stick it onto the head, the top of my cake, and then I can rub out any of the seams. So it'll look like it's just attached like the ear of the real O. Now comes the fun part. We're going to start dusting with some petal dust to make O look like Bashful O. Throughout the movie, he's usually this bright purple, but now we're going to add some pink and some lavenders to make him into Bashful. All right, I'm going to put these to the side to use a little bit later, and we're going to go ahead and make the vest and then the eyes. To make the vest on O, I'm referring back to my template. I used the parchment paper and just traced out the outline of the vest, and then that allowed me to roll out the blue fondant and create 2 pieces for the vest. O has his vest, not all the trimmings and details yet, because we have to put on his little legs. So we're going to actually hide them underneath his vest right here. So I have some extra fondant of the purple color. We'll dust it later too. And I'm going to make 4 legs for the front and 4 legs for the back, because you'll see in the movie how he runs all over with his cute little legs. All right, I have the front legs done. So before I put the trim on the vest, I'm going to go ahead and dust them. So the important thing here is that I dust to get the darkness behind here to give it dimension and some nice pink shade in the front, by the front legs. Now I'm making the trim for the vest on O, and this is really exciting because I get to use this fun tool, extruder, and I use this disc over here. And again, I'll list all of the instructions down below. And then I'm going to use this special, I guess it's like a threaded pipe that I just found at a hardware store. So not really a traditional cake decorating tool, but just something fun to add the texture all along O's vest. All right, so the trim is all done on O's vest, and so I'm using that same purple color. I'm making a dome, and then I'm going to use a cutter to cut out the perfect circle, and then I can stretch and play with it once I figure out where I want it to go. I just want the edges to be nice and kind of flat when they come to sit on the vest. All right, we have the medallion on, and next we're going to put on O's eyes. I have some white fondant here rolled into little balls that we're going to stick into the cavities that we've created. And I've also rolled out some blue, white, and black using pastry tips to cut out the different sizes that are going to layer to make the iris. Once I get the ball situated in the eye cavity, I actually want to press it to make it fairly flat to get the really big eyeball of O. Then to create the outside ring of O's eye, I use an edible food marker. All right, now we're ready for the arms on O. So the first arm goes around his back. So that one's pretty simple. We'll just take a little bit of the purple fondant, roll it into a log, and then I like to kind of dome it on this side, where it's going to actually connect to the body. And then I'll roll the rest out and then cut the hand. So to cut the fingers, we're going to just make 4 separate fingers. So I have a little template that I made. And so remember, all the templates can be found on my Facebook page. Just check out the link in the description down below, and you'll have the template for the hands, the vest, any of the designs that we use today in making our O cake. So here we have one little arm that we can glue on O around his back. This isn't a weight-bearing arm, so it's fairly simple. So for O's arm that extends, I thought I would make it out of sugar or gum paste, something that hardens. But then I realized that it may be really heavy. So I let this guy dry, but I decided that it would be a better idea to use marshmallow treats. So I made a small layer and then I cut it out, just like a little arm part. And then just like the last hand, I used my template from before and I made a little hand using the purple fondant, and I let it dry in a bowl to give it some dimension. So then what I do is I'm going to cover the little arm with some of the purple fondant, and then I'm going to glue the hand to the arm and then adhere it to the cake. The nice thing is that the fondant, it just sticks together. So now I'm going to glue it on with just some royal icing. So you just want to make sure O's hand sticks out. And then when it dries, what I'm going to do is go ahead, dust it just like I did the rest of O, and put the final touch of the trim just around his shoulders. All right, well, there are the final details. Remember, all of the materials and equipment I used are listed down below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I also made cute alien cupcakes from the movie Home over on Peanut Butter and Company's channel, so you have to check it out. For more delicious recipes every week, please subscribe. I'm Elisa Strauss, and we're mixing it up in the kitchen today.